You have to change the shirt, it'll be done for him. He showed up and then the light bulb went off. I don't even remember what time that was.
Thanks, by the way.
Thanks, Ron.
Right there, right behind you.
This is
There's
Cheryl.
6 aldermen in
Earl,
line.
yeah, good afternoon.
Paul's running about 5 minutes behind,
Okay.
so he probably won't connect until about 1:35.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, it's good.
We
to
never
see
get
Good,
you.
yeah, thanks for the update.
Yeah.
So nice to meet
Yeah.
you.
Hey, Paul, we're here. I don't know if you have a quorum yet, though.
Okay, just let me know when you do.
Okay.
Don't even, don't even, don't even.
Who's joined us.
Okay,
We won't have the mayor and we won't have Kathy. And we don't have Brian Costin yet. Oh, how many for a quorum?
4.
You have that.
Hey, Jeff, we're ready to go. Just. Huh? That's right.
My mom's got.
Sorry, guys. Brian texted me that he was trying to zoom in. Is he able to get on? Did anybody see him?
No,
You're not.
he's on now.
Yeah, sorry, I can't get my Zoom to join, but I'm here on the phone.
Okay. Let's see, we've got a quorum, correct? Me, Billy, Mike, Alex, Brian. We're just missing the mayor and Kathy, which we got the notification that they wouldn't be here. All right, so should we go ahead and get started? Everybody good? Yeah. Thumbs up, anybody?
Yes.
There we go. I apologize. All right, go ahead and call this meeting to order. Billy, can you do prayer for us, please?
All right. Let's go. Hey, Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you just for the rain that we got. Thank you just for Memorial Weekend. I know there's a lot of. Be able to celebrate Memorial, we honored all those military, all those people that serve in the capacity. So that they can sit here with the freedom. Thank you for the staff that are making their best to accommodate everything with the city. I know the mayor and city and Kathy's with Congressman, I think, Eric. Just ask that you bless their time. And thank you just for everything they do for the city. I know yesterday Brian's side shared about a lot of stuff that's going on. What they're doing to help us with the 76 as well as Branson. And we thank you for that. And we thank you for all you do. And I know the words say that be anxious for nothing, but don't worry about anything but prayer with supplication, thanksgiving. We ask whether that we just lift up a prayer for the city. I pray that you continue to give us wisdom and direction. And I pray for your lead as we move forward. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Guess it would help if I am muted. Thanks, Billy. Paul, can you do roll call, please?
Sure. So we've got Chuck is present, Billy is present, Mike is there. Brian, you're on.
I'm here.
correct? Alex is there at the end, and the mayor and Kathy are absent.
Okay, looks like we got a quorum. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the April 30th meeting?
We have,
Okay, all right. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns, changes to the minutes? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the April 30th meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minute. Second.
Okay, got a first and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Review of CID financials.
So you have April financials in front of you. As of April, we brought in $1,721,997 in revenue and expended $105,558. 1.5 million of that was sales tax revenue. As of April, sales tax revenue had increased 0.2% over this time last year. But then if you go ahead and jump forward to May, you can see that we had a 3.8% increase for our May revenue for sales tax. Are there any questions about the expenditures or revenue that has been collected for the 76 levy?
I don't have any questions. Anybody have any questions regarding? No. Okay. I don't think we have to approve anything regarding that, so thank you very much. Update on easement acquisition status. Michael, I think we're basically have one underlying situation, don't we, that has 5 properties?
That's correct, and so, we met with, our city attorney met with the applicant and, or the easement holder for it. Had a long discussion about the wishes and wants to get to the finish line. We did get a temporary construction easement re-executed that was in error with this particular person. He's still holding 38, 55, 56, and 57. And all our attorney Solon is here and he can fill in anything he feels ready to give to the board.
Yeah, I did meet with Matt, who is the attorney for the entity that is the property owner. And worked through some of the, things we talked about in the last meeting. And so I said, before we, spend money on having these redrawn, we want to get at least some kind of a tentative approval that this concept is something that you guys would approve of. And so the owner of the company that owns these lots or parcels, whatever, his son was getting married last weekend out of state. So the attorney texted me and told me I'm going to try and talk to him at the wedding about it if I get a chance, but not sure if he's going to want to talk about that while we're having celebrations for his son. But I'll try to get something back to you the beginning of next week. Well, that didn't happen. Or next week would have been, I think, Friday-ish or something. And so I just texted him before I came in here and said, hey, going to the 76 meeting, if you got anything for me, and haven't heard back yet. So I'm still waiting for them, but I guess it's been 2 weeks since him and I really all those details down. I'm hopeful that we can work something out for a good conversation. I think we kind of found a good middle ground if we can make the design work.
So here's kind of my theory, philosophy, wherever I'm at on this. And I'm gonna kind of take a play out of the mayor's book from last meeting. And just food for thought for everybody here. I'm at a point where, we've got one property owner that has 5 parcels that is basically at a point where we're holding up this entire project. And completely understand from a developer's perspective of wanting to make sure I do right for my property and everything associated with it. With that being said, we're sitting here spinning our wheels and not able to do much of anything regarding this project until we get those signs. So just a thought for everybody on whether or not, we, for example, postpone the next CID meeting until we get this resolved. I don't see the point in us continue to meet and have the same discussions regarding this property when that is our one underlying issue that's keeping us from moving forward on this. So just open for discussion. Just wanted to bring that out. Anybody have any questions or comments or thoughts on that? Or we can bring it back up later in the meeting, or we can have a discussion later on.
From our perspective, I mean, obviously these meetings are held at City Hall, and so, I don't know, I think we'll have our next board meeting, it's our goal to have a further discussion on the cooperative agreement, so postponing might not be in store until we get that issue navigated and solidified. But, I guess as far as the easement acquisition side of it, I understand where you're coming from on that. So you guys have businesses to run, right? We're city staff, we're here all day and this is what we do, right? So I want to be cognizant of that. So I respect what you're saying. But we're here to do whatever's needed and, but I deferred it to the rest of the other side of the board as well.
Okay. Any of the other board members have anything to share on that?
Not really. By the way, what was you said that after the discussion with Matt, you felt there was something that
So last time, if you recall, we talked about, the designs right now call for closing off one of his entrances. And, I can understand from a developer's perspective, that's obviously cutting value to my property. And so what we talked about last time was, opening that back up and seeing if there was a way to rework some of the design there so that at least you could have, egress out of that way to the right. So that's what we talked about. There were a couple of things, more details I have, we drew it out on a piece of paper. I can go get it out of my office if you guys would like to see it. Where we kind of came up, okay, this conceptually would probably be okay. He was gonna run that by. I sent those scans to him and he was gonna run that by his boss, and then if it was, green light, to talk to Jeremy and see what they can do to work some of those calculations to see if it fit out, if it made sense.
so that's one of the property by the crosswalk
Yeah,
that would happen to either exit further out or something so that it doesn't impede on the crosswalk. And there's one I'm actually on the east side is yeah, okay. But the question is, sounds like that's the direction that they want to take, and I don't know if you're even close to say, yeah, it can be done. But if it can be done in the group on, or makes me, I got a feeling that we may be in an agreement to move forward. Is that, are we still too far away to say, let's just wait around like what Chuck was saying, or are we anywhere close?
yeah, if money wasn't an issue, we would have already had GRE draw the stuff for us. But we're trying to be, cognizant of that. And so, that would get us one step closer, right, if those were already drawn up and ready to go. But we're just trying to not waste the money.
Right, we want, from the perspective of the taxpayers' dollar, is you want a verbal commitment or a written commitment that these are the things that are holding me back from signing an easement. Once we can get confirmation of that in writing, that the owner believes these are the things that are hung up there, we're more than happy, and Jeremy and Michael are here today and they're aware of the items that are there to fast forward that very, very quickly, because we know it all hinges on that, but ultimately that signature for the easement does not really actually, it corresponds to the plans, but your easement isn't the plan. The plan is showing what's going in the easement.
Okay.
So the signature for the easement could happen before the plan set changed, but they want to see the plan set change before the easement. The easement is
Yeah.
just a bracket of land or a bracket of items that you're controlling.
Yeah.
So
So is it easy just to have the meeting schedule and cancel it versus cancel it in case? Because if you cancel it, then you want to put it on the agenda, and then all of a sudden it'd be harder to put on everybody's schedule versus you say, okay, we're gonna just cancel for this.
I think we could do, if you
I don't know
guys
what-
end up
I-
canceling.
That would be my suggestion, to keep the meeting scheduled and as we get closer.
If we're not
we'll see
anywhere,
when
we're not,
the meeting.
if we know that we're not anywhere that what do you think?
Oh, I just, again, our plan is that next meeting to bring some of the dates for the cooperative agreement forward. And I think that's something that we can definitely discuss on a separate track in parallel to the easement acquisitions. Cause that will probably be a meeting or two that we'll wanna discuss as a board, and you'll wanna consider some things. And again, it's all about the funding structure, right? Some of the proposed things, so that's separate of this easement acquisition discussion. That can still make progress, but I think we should use this time to really get that issue out of the way too.
Cooperative agreement. But yeah, if you have something to talk about, I understand that.
Yep.
But if we don't, we're just sitting around here to show up, look good, so. I mean, I just, because it's what's interesting about this, is we have been waiting for a long time. And, but also, we're talking about the next meeting will be the end of June. And then, so that means that we won't meet till the end of July. And so if we cancel the June meeting. But if, I think, my only thing is just if there's something that makes sense for us to make a meeting, I agree with Chuck, but also how far away are we from this kind of stuff? And I know that the longer we sit around, the longer we postpone our meeting also. I mean, we only meet once a month. There's a lot of stuff that we could discuss and maybe, I know that right now it's all about this property of, Matt Graycock, property, so.
Is there anything GRE can shed light on? I mean, I know you guys haven't probably done any calculations, but.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on potential?
So. We did see the sketch and looked at the sketch with regard to the technical requirements that we're held to. And so some of the things that probably folks may not be as familiar with is that, we follow design standards for safety of pedestrians and vehicles. And what you see in the design has been carefully thought through and meets a number of the criteria, MUTC, and I could throw out lots and lots of letters, they don't really mean anything to you all, except to say that the sketch itself violates the shy distance, it violates some of the criteria for safe travel and the protection of the pedestrians. At the end of the day, what we're doing with that median crossing is protecting the pedestrians. We've had a couple of really unfortunate incidents in the last years that have really driven us to make that the most important, the paramount issue that we have. And so making a modification that compromises that in any way is frankly not acceptable.
All right, I have a question about that. So I ride bikes with my family, got 4 kids every Sunday.
Yeah.
And we go to a street that's just as busy probably as 76. Across that. There's no light. There's white lines painted, and there's signs for a crosswalk. There's no median that goes out 100 yards or whatever this is both ways. It's just that 6 foot, whatever it is, line.
Yeah.
So what I have a hard time with and is understanding why we can't put an egress lane there for someone out of that one side, which doesn't even narrow, I mean, that doesn't even change the physical median itself at all. We're just changing paint at that point. So like, I guess my question is, and trying to understand and mediate this for both parties here, because I'm kind of the in-between guy, right? So I have to ask the tough question.
Sure.
Is, you know, if I can go to a street and somewhere else that's just got painted 6 feet thing, then why can't we just put a painted 6 feet thing right there?
So I probably step in just a little bit. So some of our grants are tied to this design also. So we have the Z crossing, which gets you to your stopping point and over, and then also the Hawk system, which is a lighting system, which is like a stoplight has certain requirements for the stopping path for that. And at the end of the day, even though when we're done, this money is coming from multiple sources, it needs to be understood that MoDOT ultimately gets to overlook these plans and oversee the geometry of it. The geometry as it stands for this particular parcel puts his entranceway right in the walking path if left at that point. And the turning radius is there, so.
Hold up. The entrance is not even close to the walking path.
It's,
I'm looking at it right now.
You're talking about the exit only, or are you talking about are you
Well,
talking about?
so
the-
as designed right now, there, I'm talking about the one that we were gonna add down here. Yeah, it's closed off.
The exit only.
So
Like ultimately, this.
I'm just trying to understand.
Right, this would be an appropriate discussion if the easement holder comes to us and says, this is what we need to do, then we need to work through it. It really isn't like something that we need to work through on the fly in a board meeting.
Well, I mean, I know, but I gotta go back to him and say what we can and can't do, so that's what I'm.
Sure, if the requirements that are there, he says that this is what I need, then we'll work line by line and get right to you. I mean, that's something that does not take board action or design to do.
That's fine, I guess what I interpreted was that you guys were saying it can't be done, you said it. So if I misinterpreted that, just say you misinterpreted, then we're all good.
76 Country Boulevard, there's not another road like that in the country. It's a 3-lane road, 28,000 vehicles per day, 2 directions.
Lots of distractions.
Lots of distractions. When you look for pedestrians along the roadway, you're playing a game of where's Waldo? Because you have, there's not another road in the country, and I dare say in the world, that's like 76. And so to make things safe, we need to do things to help focus and provide additional safety. We've had some pretty unfortunate results in recent history there. And so the median there widens the roadway. Part of the problem with that driveway is it's 2 foot above the existing ground. We had to widen the road and get the median in to help provide traffic calming and to focus people's attention to the pedestrian crossing. The Z crossing that Mike talked about is the way that works is the cars, as they approach that median, their focus is narrowed to the one lane that they're going through, and that all works together. You can't just say it's like any other road.
So when you talk about that though, when you're going, so you've limited how it is right now, you've limited it so that the cars can only leave this part right here, okay? So these cars leaving are not going towards the crosswalk, they're going away from it. And all we're asking is for a ability to turn out right here. They're not asking to go towards the sidewalk. So I have a hard time believing that there's any safety arguments because the cars aren't going that way.
Well, you're still in the area of influence and media. They can turn out, but you also have a great elevation difference there. I mean, to
But that's
make
not
a
like
drive-
a design thing we couldn't work around with the property.
It is a
right?
design. We have to meet ADA. ADA requires, for that crosswalk, requires a maximum slope, cross slope of 2%. To get the median in, to get the width in, we had to widen and grade that out. So that driveway is at the right of way is 3 feet below where the road elevation will be. And so there's,
You'd have to grade out here.
yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, that's something that I can go back to them and say, hey, you guys want to keep this, you're gonna have to grade out there. Now, here's the other thing that we can't just throw this design out there and pretend like what we say goes. I mean, if we do this, we are taking property from them. As a government entity, we have to compensate that. So we're either paying them a bunch of money or we have to figure out a hybrid here.
if we can do the median and the improvements entirely within the existing right of way that the city has. There's, the easement is to provide an added benefit to that property. That property has access with a driveway just to the west.
Which is, but we're also with our design taking away their ability to egress a certain direction. So we're not only taking away this, but we're taking their egress away.
They can go both directions from that driveway.
Absolutely.
We're not stopping
This one, they can
anything.
go this way. I
Yeah.
guess you're right, they
Yeah.
can go that way.
So and plenty of businesses along that corridor have only one driveway. And so there's nothing, that it's a vacant lot, so there's no impact, no negative impact to the property. But it is a huge safety benefit to pedestrian traffic along that corridor.
So. This is the hard questions in the conversation that needs to happen, so don't take this personally. But when you say there's no impact, and I work for the city, okay, so I wanna make that clear. I have worked in litigation for real estate stuff. I've hired appraisals, Rick Minks, I'm sure you know that name.
Yeah.
He has been an expert witness for me, so I know what I'm talking about. Taking away an entrance does affect the value, 100%. You can't say that, it does.
But what is it an entrance
So-
to right now?
Into a property that has a legal right to have entrances there and development,
So does the adoption of the 2014 adoption of the street plan, master plan for this corridor, how do we mitigate between council's adoption of that and the directive that we were given to limit access, to create safe pedestrian passage and all of the other things?
Well, it's like what I said a second ago, we either pay money to them for it, because it's gonna be a taking. Or we figure out a solution, and so all I'm saying is, I'm trying to find a solution here.
Sure, would you guys feel some time in meeting after this?
Sure.
Jeremy?
The greatest, yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, the greatest, federal highway safety studies, probably one of the greatest things that you can do to improve pedestrian safety is access management. And so.
Sure.
And that was one of
Makes
the,
sense.
one of the design things that we were tasked with. And so if this is one of the premier crossings and, it makes it less safe.
It was similar to the Dickens property as we talked with them. We kept the same amount of entrances, but correct me, Mike, if I'm wrong. One of the entrances is 48 feet wide and now we made them all 30 to make them standardized, which is wider than the city street. So as you're walking with your family in a stroller, you're not worried about a car behind you coming in and swiping your car in front of you coming. So now he's asking for 4 of those. So now you're 120 feet within a small corridor of 240 feet on the Dickens property that you have to be as a pedestrian protected in there. So those are one of his asks. And again, the ask is for him to confirm with the owner, since he is the lawyer representing, that these are that, and we'll drive the football forward and we'll get somewhere where we need to be. At the end of the day, the other thing is we heard loud and clear from the board and many people sitting in this room that we're not gonna start paying for easements and we're not paying for easements and the whole, for every single person that's been signed on this, I've sat in front of those people and said, you're getting a value improvement in front of your business of X amount of dollars per linear foot in front of your business. and we're asking for this, and that's how we got all this, so I think it would be unfair and to come and now offer money for something that we didn't before, because that goes out and makes all the work that we've done for the last 2 years
Michael, I
on this
know,
project.
no one's saying we should offer the money because no one else got that. But you can't say we're improving the value of it, you're actually decreasing the value of it. Trees and a nice sidewalk does not improve the value more than taking away a whole entrance will. And so from their perspective, they've already told me, if we don't have that entrance, we're not doing anything. And so where does that leave us? Not in a good spot. And so I'm like, okay, well, I gotta figure this out. So, you know, I can tell you that they've already told me that. No entrance, no go. So where does that leave us?
Well, maybe after the meeting, we could take a moment and put our heads together
Yeah.
and find a solution. I would.
Let's try to
appreciate
figure it
that.
out. I think that's a good idea.
Well, I think it is, because if there's no solution, no need to meet next month.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, he's saying we need this, they're saying, well, we can't do this. There's no solution, I mean, basically, like he said, if it's no two-way, and then.
Ultimately, the solution is that we take an exception and it's not built to a certain standard and the liability falls, where the liability falls. And
That's
that's,
where-
that's a risk that,
That he has, yeah, the city has to take part, yeah.
because, they're held to, their license no different than he's licensed or unlicensed, and that's a risk of their stamp to put on the item, and if they're uncomfortable, they can sign a memo, and then we can go forward. But the first step, the true first step, is what I've been saying all along. What is the ask? Let's design to the ask and get where we can get all together. And until we can get verbal confirmation from the actual owner, we've spent a lot of money.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
So,
So, well, I know that you guys are wanting to meet maybe after this. So I would just plan to schedule a meeting next week, and if you can't, somebody who notifies there's really no solution, and like Chuck said, we just need to just postpone another month of planning, because
Sounds good.
if we can't resolve it, this is a big deal. Basically, we will never saw 76, CID development, because this one little thing.
Well, we definitely have a way to solve, but we need somebody to say, I'm gonna sign an easement. when
Yeah,
you solve it."
yeah.
And that is step one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we're gonna get there, we just need to ask the tough questions and try to come together and, figure out creative solutions.
Absolutely.
So,
So it's not just that one property, but Crosswalk, Mike, it's even the Deacon and everything. It's there's a lot of issues with Matt Rock,
Right.
John.
Well, we had met before, all of us, and designed to that standard and submitted that many months ago.
Yeah.
And no response to that. So you would think you would solve one property, you get the signature on that property and go to the next, and after this most recent meeting, we're back to square one on each property and changes to each. So.
Yeah.
Let's get it in writing, what we wanna do, and
Well,
so
that's-
Solon did an excellent job of writing out exactly
Yeah.
what needed to be agreed
and
upon.
honestly, if I would have been involved in the process earlier, which I wasn't, because I'm fairly new to the city, I would have made him put that in writing at the time, because, we spent funds after that to do all this, and it doesn't make sense, like, the process that you see me doing now is, I'm not spending a dime, Mr. Grocott, until you tell me this is okay, conceptually, and so if we would have done that earlier, I mean, it would have probably been a little bit better, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
Different attorneys, we
Yeah,
we did
exactly.
have our attorney there, so.
Exactly, it's just different styles, but we'll get there.
So Chuck, our advice is basically just to keep the meeting and then let them meet. Afterwards, try to fix the solution. If there's no solution, then there's nothing to talk, but according to Alex, we also need to talk about the cooperative agreement. So I don't know, I'm open either way.
Well, we'll just leave it as is. I mean, we can, as it sits right now, we have to post the
Agenda,
the agenda 24 hours prior. So, I mean, it's not something that we have to make a decision on right now. It's just something I wanted to bring up. And I'm going to reiterate the fact that I am not a big fan of giving into circumstances.
Chuck, I can't barely hear you.
I'm not a big fan into giving into demands, for lack of better terms, because once we do that, we have 3 more phases of this project. And once we do it, it's going to be a domino effect. Everybody is going to request stuff that we cannot do, or we can do, but we're just not going to be able to do the project because it's going to run it completely out of the budget. It's just going to make it completely unaffordable. So I'm just throwing that out there. Once we give in to one, potentially we're giving into another one and then another one and another one, and it's going to be a domino effect. I think I shared this with Michael and everybody else that we have a pre-meeting on Friday just to kind of review stuff. When we did phase 3, we didn't we got to be assistants with the design process, but if we wanted to do additional things on our property, then we spent the money to do it. You look at the Wax Museum, we spent an extra $250,000 on that property outside of what the city's project was. That's because we saw the benefit to it. We saw the value in the project. So that's just, something I think we need to always keep in mind. So all right, Alex or Sarah, Sarah, I don't know if you have any updates. I haven't seen anything, but where are we at on the cooperative agreement? I know, Alex, you mentioned something hopefully this month, but do we have anything to update on the cooperative agreement?
I do not have anything until we get those edits from Alex and Kathy.
Yeah, so we plan on having something for you, Chuck, next month for our meeting, and we'll present it at that meeting, hopefully, and then we can have, subsequent meetings and whatnot. I'll be honest, the cooperative agreement is challenging to amend, just of how it's written. It references different areas across the whole thing, so you make one minor change on the waterfall, and you might impact in other ways you don't intend other areas of the agreement. So we're trying to be really careful as we're looking at it, to address the waterfall issue that Sarah and the board had raised in the most responsible way possible. So my apologies, but it's a cooperative agreement that's it's challenging how it's written. So that's okay. We'll navigate through it.
Is it possible for us to see the changes prior to the meeting so we can come and have a discussion based on what the potential changes are, so we're not kind of throwing it out there in advance?
Yeah, I think how we kind of look at it is we would show up to the meeting and probably just brief you on it all, and then we would have the opportunity. Here's the thing that I think we don't want to have happen is we send over edits, and through that void of communication, there becomes confusion or contention. And so, the waterfall obviously is in the essential part of what's looking at being amended. And I just don't want things being lost to translation. So I think it's best if we could present those items to you guys of what we want to do and have a presentation, a briefing, right? And then like an open discussion between, as a whole board. I think that will probably avoid any type of misunderstandings or confusion or contention. And that's the last thing we want, at least from the city's end. So I think that's probably how we'll lay this one out, but we'll see. I mean, if we get through and there's not really any big changes, sure, we'll send it in advance. That's totally fine.
Will Paul and Sarah have a chance to review them prior?
I'll be out of the country the week of June 23rd. I'll be overseas.
Yeah, so that's part of why I'm asking that question, because Paul, being our legal counsel, I feel like needs to be heavily involved in that discussion and the presentation. He needs to be available for that. So he needs to be able to communicate with us directly as the CID board and be able to answer any questions. And if he's out of the country, that kind of that's not a real yeah.
Can we have a meeting without Paul? Chuck, I mean, this is the first time I heard that he's gonna be gone The 25th.
We can, yes, we can have a meeting without Paul. We can have, somebody else create the Zoom, somebody else record the meeting, somebody else, our secretary can take the notes and so forth. I'm not concerned about having the meeting. My concern is Paul not being available during
Yeah,
that.
Chuck, you guys can go, you can go ahead and have the meeting, and just listen, and then I'll just watch the Zoom and circle up with you afterwards.
Okay.
I think Chuck's point was that Paul will not be able to review the cooperative agreement prior to the meeting, is what you're saying, Chuck. Right? Is that what you're saying?
He's not going to be able to review it prior to the meeting. He's not going to be on the meeting to ask any questions or to answer any questions that we may have through the presentation process.
And if I understand from Alex, I don't think it's really, what I understood Alex to say is they prefer to just present, and then you all listen, take it under advisement, and formulate your thoughts over the ensuing weeks. And then at the end of July, we can discuss it, and that'll give everybody time to review it and make informed comments, whatever those may be.
Yeah, and I think the huge part is, guys, I'm truly meaning this from a good faith perspective of, like, we don't want to just throw you a red line. I mean, we got a red line, right? Like the city got a red line of the waterfall changes and stuff like that, but we don't want to necessarily do that, right? I mean, if we're going to make changes to a really fundamental part of this whole agreement, the waterfall, the last thing I want to do is send you guys an email with red lines. There's so much that goes into these cooperative agreements. There's so much history. And so really our perspective was just really provide a briefing on it, right? And an understanding of like the city's perspective. And I want to hear from them, from the rest of the stakeholders on the SID board, their perspective of it. And through that comes a natural, healthy discussion. And so that's really why that's why I'm hesitant just to throw you guys a red line version and email from attorney to attorney. Because I think we're beyond that, honestly.
Sure. Okay, well, it sounds like we'll wait and see if you guys are ready in the June meeting for the presentation.
And Chuck, we're also open. I mean, if we want to do a special meeting when Paul gets back, if we want to cancel the 23rd meeting because Paul's gone and do a special meeting the week after or 2 weeks after he's gone, we're open to that just based on availability. We can just explore it in 2 weeks, right?
I'm sorry.
I said we can explore that in 2 weeks. I mean, it's just,
Yeah, we don't need to make that decision now. I mean, if we skip the meeting, then we're going to be pushing it off till probably the week of the 9th because of the 4th of July holiday. So.
And just FYI, I just got a text from Mr. Grocott that said that he's out of town, but Kevin, which I think is the owner. Yeah. Kevin's gonna be in town on Tuesday, and he said maybe he can meet with you guys then. So we might be able to meet with Kevin and get some progress moving on that on Tuesday, hopefully. I don't know. Gonna try and get it scheduled, but it's up to them, ultimately to me.
All right, well, let's just leave the meeting as it is, and we'll look forward to the presentation from the city on the cooperative agreement. That's about all we can do. Any further discussion regarding that? I don't think so, unless somebody does. Next is a project financing update, Todd, but I mean, really, there's nothing for you right now, correct? I mean, everything's contingent on the cooperative agreement and the sign off on those 5 parcels, correct?
It is, and I would like to go back to the cooperation agreement because as the initial draft of bond documents was done towards the end of last year is the point that ourselves, bond counsel, the underwriter noticed that there are some discrepancies in language in the cooperation agreement that we felt would make it challenging as we go to S&P to seek a bond rating, and ultimately language that is different than what bond investors are used to seeing. And so that was the genesis of the suggested changes to the cooperation agreement. And I think that draft was provided to the city back in January, and we've mentioned it at every meeting since. I've not seen or heard anything from the city as to what the issues or concerns are. I'm not the attorney, I'm just the financial advisor, but it would be nice to know what the concerns are. And, here we are, 5 months afterwards, and if we were in a position to be ready to issue bonds and you had this last property owner sign the agreement, at this point, the holdup is gonna be the cooperation agreement, because we can't really even move forward with S&P unless we know what the flow of funds are. So I'm not sure why it's taken so long, and what's done is done, but I think to put the board in a position to move forward with issuing the bonds just as soon as we get the property issue taken care of, I think that's gotta be at the top of the list.
Yeah, that's, again, I mean, without reiterating everything I just said, basically, that's what we're looking at.
Could I ask a question of Todd?
Yep, I hear you, Jeremy.
Yeah, hi Todd. If the cooperative agreement was in place and the right of way signed off on, can you just talk me through timing one more time? Because we, even yet today, have had a discussion about schedule and what that schedule might look like for us in terms of, advertising for bids and so forth. And so I know we've got a little bit of a gap here. I understand there are things to be buttoned up, but can you just give me how, is that a 60-day process or 90-day process, Todd? Remind me of that, please.
Yeah, I think that's what we've discussed, is somewhere around a 60 to 75-day process. And so one of the first items that would happen would be to get bond documents updated from the last time that Sarah had put those together. So I don't want to speak for her, but I don't know that that's going to be a huge lift to get those updated. But from my vantage point, at that point, we're going to make a rating submittal to S&P, and we need to have that bond structure and flow of funds is going to be very important as S&P goes through the process to assign the rating. But from the time we start that process, Jeremy, to when we have the rating in hand is probably 3 weeks. And then we would, in essence, finalize the preliminary official statement, which is a fancy name for the bond prospectus that would be used to sell the bonds. I think that's probably a 2 to 3 week process, and then about another 2 weeks or so to get the issue closed.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that.
So 75 days, the money's in rolling and it committed, right? So, because you never want to release a bid document unless you have the money to fund it. So we're talking 60, 75 days from the time you get that issue and the easement.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about that before, and certainly, Paul, you can jump in here, but I think from our vantage point, I think you want to have the bonds sold. That's really the key point. If the closing is just another 2 weeks down the road, I think we're okay with that. But our goal really is to get those bonds sold before the city's committing and moving forward.
Okay, so at the end of 75 days.
If it's just the city committed, I mean, you're not really committed till you sign a contract. So if you're in a tight time frame, we're trying to meet a certain window and you're still waiting on that, is it possible for them to advertise, start that process, but you don't have anything committed till you sign the contract? Is that
correct?
Sorry, I asked that again. I was texting Mr. Grova.
So they're asking, can we advertise for bid before the bonds are sold?
I don't know. I'll have to check in on that.
We've been previously told no, that we could not.
That sounds good.
I mean, definitely research it, but we were previously told no, that we could not advertise for bid until the bonds were sold and the money was available.
I
That's
think every
consistent.
city does it differently. And no doubt Solon will make sure there's no city-specific rule in the city code. Some cities have gone ahead and done that, but not awarded the bid until they make sure they have the funds on hand. Because once you
Right.
issue that notice to proceed, then that's when you're generating the signed contracts.
Right. I remember asking that question and yeah, but yeah, let's see if it's possible. Any further questions, comments regarding the funding source?
That's all I have, Chuck.
All right. Thanks, Todd. Appreciate it. Introduction of any new business?
So we're working through, the MoDOT agreement for the $6.2 million that's there. The intention is once we get into the agreement with them is to go ahead and submit the charges from Great River Engineering to the development of the design of this to draw against that money. I just want to make sure that this board knew that that was the intention of the city once we get into an agreement with them.
Just more FYI.
Yeah, so. That means that 6 million,
Yeah, yeah.
the draw will be 2 million back, and then, of course, anything that are charges that exist around this other than average, there's a lot of nuances that we can't do, but, any other charges that come, we'll start drawing against that money because it's been appropriated, it's being appropriated, and then, Mr. Solon down here is working on the agreement with MoDOT, so. We have a little bit of fine touches to do with that, and that's the city and MoDOT together, so.
And, to respond to Mr. Goffroy, if that's how you say it, Todd, these things take time. They're not, legal stuff, just like financial stuff, you can't just work it overnight. There's back and forth, there's red lines. And so, it may be frustrating, but that's just how it is.
Yeah.
You gotta do it right the first time, because it takes a lot more time to do it right the second time. So the governor, the funds from the state on this $6 million thing, we've already sent them red lines so that, we could really button up the city side and make sure that, funds were flexible for what we need them to be. And they're kind of pushing back. And so it's, it's a tug of war, and we have to find some balance in between things, working on it.
Mike, I do have a question. I know that earlier Cheryl talks about grants and all stuff that has deadline, and as we push back, are we missing those things? Are we losing money because of all the stuff that's available that we awarded? Where are we at in that?
Sure, so all the TAP agreements are actually forward and through the Board of Aldermen and done. The very last one is $6.2 million, so those funds that were appropriated of MoDOT are boxed in and ready to go. So, and those relate around the crosswalks and the sidewalks. So once we start building those items, there is a small delay that we talked about earlier today that once we do get these plans ready to go to bid, MoDOT has one more look over the plans to make sure that they meet their requirements for the TAP money that we got on there. The TAP money is allocated to segment 3, which we have just started with a design partner on that, which is Great River Engineering, but a different group than Jeremy's group. And then segment 1 and 2 has the money tied to that. The $800,000 that was at 165 and 76, we're still working through the nuances of that.
And to answer your question, Billy, they do have a deadline, but we've been told we can turn in an extension if we need to. And those deadlines are 2026, December 2026.
Just like the governor's comments.
Thank you.
Okay, any other new business? Hearing none, the only thing I was gonna throw out is, we know that we're not gonna break ground the third week of August. Under the current situation and how things are. I guess our goal now would be probably what, 1st of January, Michael? Probably best time. I mean, we understand it's a 1-year
Still
project.
be for just December still out there. That is the other update is, Jeremy and Michael are here today because we just spent 4 hours doing line by line in these documents and trying to, figure out where we want to go. The other thing I should have brought up in new business is we probably need to know the appetite of the board to do an incentive program on this. Incentive program being, if we believe that the timeline to this project, when we release, it'll be 365 days because it'll take a year. Is this board willing to do an incentive similar to what we've done in downtown? And when I say that, the incentive is not just a number that you throw out there that says it's $1 million or whatever it is. It's, I think, between $8,200 and $8,400 a day is the contract amount. And we base that off of MoDOT numbers, which is ADT, which is average daily travelers that are out there, and the contract of north of $20 million. So that number is figured. What you can do is you can design an incentive, which we did recently, that could rewind that is if the contractor finishes 30 days early, which would be if you started in December, you might be done in November, which would be great for holiday sales up there. As we know, the city's highest sales and tax revenue is November and December. So, always as we start to go down that is talking about what are some of the things that the city, or in this particular case, the 76 board can authorize to make sure that we are expediting this important project for the business owners and the tax revenue and our visitors that are coming to visit and our residents. I don't know if that becomes an official agenda item for you all, because it's the money that you control, or maybe Paul or someone can guide us through that, but that conversation needs to happen before we put out bid documents, because inside bid documents is where incentive and disincentive is. There will always be a disincentive, which means that if they don't finish in the contract time, then $8,000 and some change gets put back into the offer for each day that they're late.
Jeremy, do you have standard language in your front end docs with respect to that?
Yes, well, there are many ways to approach it, Paul, but yes, there is some standard language for sure. And we talked about a number of the ways that we might approach that from a legal perspective today.
Is that something that language could be the center point of a future discussion, so the board understands what the capacity or amount of additional charges might be?
There are, the best news I have really on that front is that Missouri Department of Transportation does approach this, on their significant projects. I consider this to be a significant project, and there's great precedence that's been established. What we can do is forward to you for your consideration a number of different scenarios that you might consider. And maybe perhaps you can consider those, and we can discuss them at the next meeting.
Okay. Any other new business? No? Okay, then I guess I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, state by getting up or logging off your computers.
See you guys.
Thanks, everyone.